Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradare Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradare Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasadi Go Abhata Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Radha Damodara Damodara Radha Damodara Damodara Radhe Jayam Vishnu Pa Paramahamsa Parivrajak Chajastu Tatarasta Srimad His Divine Grace Ade Charan Vrinde Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Namachaya Brahmachaya Shri Haridas Thakura Ki Jai Prem Se Keo Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Damodara Gopa Gopinath Shama Kun Radha Kunji Govardhana Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mathura Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Ayodhya Dham Ki Jai Nilachala Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Shri Dham Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Shri Gita Nagari Dham Ki Jai Sama Vida Bhakta Vinda Ki Jai Nitai Gora Pramanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Namo Shambhadaya Krishna Pista Bhutaresha Mativati Teta Swamitina Namaste Krishna Pada Prabhupada Ashtapana Shri Gora Karana Shakti Bhakti Teretina. Thank you very much. And thank you yesterday for engaging me in this service again, once again. And thank everybody for being here. This discussion is very important. To always hear Srimad Bhagavatam is very important. So thank you for all being here. And I'm asking for your blessings so that I can say something for the beneficial, to be beneficial to myself and to everyone else. Thank you. Today's reading is taken from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 18, text number 37. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Dravya Kriya Hetu Ayenesha Katribil Maya Gunai Vastu Nirikshiktak Mane Anushakya Gat Sayatma Budibil Nirasta Maya Kritaye Namo Namaha. Divya Kriyaya Hetu Anyanisha Ketabil Maya Guna Vasu Nirikshiktakmane Avi Shaya Gatisa Yatma Budibil Nirasta Maya Kritaye Namo Namaha. Word-to-word translation. Divya, by the objects of sense enjoyment. Kriya, the activities of the senses. Hetu, the predominating deities of sensory activities. Ayana, the body. Isha, the predominating type. Katribil, by force, egotism. Maya Gunai, by the modes of material nature. Vasu, as a fact. Nirikshita, being observed. Atmane, unto the Supreme Soul. Vikshaya, by careful consideration. Anga, by the limbs of yogic practice. Atisaya Atma Buddhibil, by those whose intelligence has been fixed. Nirasta, completely freed from. Maya, the illusory energy. Akritaye, whose form. Namaha, all respectful obeisances. Namaha, respectful obeisances. Translation and purport by Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The object of material enjoyment, sound, form, taste, touch, and smell. The activities of the senses, the controllers of sensory activities, the demigods. The body, eternal time, and egotism are all creations of your material energy. Those whose intelligence has become fixed by perfect execution of mystic yoga can see that all these elements result from the actions of your external energy. They can also see your transcendental form as supersoul in the background of everything. Therefore, I repeatedly offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Purport. The objects of material enjoyment, the sensory activities, attachment to sensual pleasure, the body, false egotism, and so on, are produced by the Lord's external energy, Maya. The background of all these activities is the living being, and the director of the living being is the supersoul. The living being is not the all in all. He is directed by the supersoul. In Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Krishna confirms this. Savasya chanam hriday sanivisto mataha smriti gyanam apuhanam cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. The living entity depends on the supersoul for directions. A person advanced in spiritual knowledge or a person expert in the practice of mystic yoga, yama, niyama, asana, and so on, can understand transcendence either as Paramatma or as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord is the original cause of all natural events. Therefore, he is described as Sarva Karana Karanam, the cause of all causes. Behind everything visible to our material eyes is some cause, and one who can see the original cause of all causes, Lord Krishna, can actually see. Krishna, the Sachit Ananda Vigraha, is the background of everything, as he himself confirms in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 10. Maya Dyakshina Praktil Suyate Cha Charana Charara Charam Hetuna Nina Kunteya Jagad Viparivatate. This material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and it is producing all moving and unmoving beings. By its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Om Magyana Timiranda Shya Gyana Jana Salakaya Chakshu Om Nitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobistam Stapitam Yena Bhutali Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swapadanti Kam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinambandhu Jagapati Gopisha Gopika Kantarada Kanta Namostute. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Iti Namini. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupadaya Shitatmani Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Namini. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gora Vani Pracharini Nevashisha Sunya Vadi Pashatyadi Satari. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasari Gora Bhattavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakapatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya ivacha patitanam pavanabhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. So again, thank you very much for all being here. The text again reads, the objects of material enjoyment, sound, form, taste, touch, and smell, the activities of the senses, the controllers of sensory activities, the demigods, the body, eternal time, and egotism are all creations of your material energy. Those whose intelligence has become fixed by perfect execution of mystic yoga can see that all these elements result from the actions of your external energy. They can also see your transcendental form as supersoul in the background of everything. Therefore, I repeatedly offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So, the title of this chapter is called the residents of Jambudwe offer prayers. So these are the prayers, some of the prayers of the residents of Jambudwe to the Lord. And so in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is perfectly elaborating this prayer, where he's making references to the material enjoyment and sensory activities, attachment to sensual pleasure and body, force, egotism, and so on, are produced by the law's external energy, Maya. So Prabhupada goes further to quote Bhagavad Gita 15:15, where Krishna says that I'm seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. In other words, we realize from the text or the prayers of the of the residents of Jambudwe how everything emanates from the Lord. Because in the purport, Srila Prabhupada also quotes Bhagavad Gita 9:10, where Krishna says that this material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti. And Prabhupada also states how Krishna is referred to as being Sava Karana Karanam, that he is being the cause of all causes, that nothing can happen, because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also that not even a blade of grass can move without my sanction. In other words, nothing can happen in this world without the sanction of the Lord. So, this brings us to the merciful nature of Srila Prabhupada. How Srila Prabhupada has been able to model his movement, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, for us to be able to be train ourselves to be very conscious of the Lord in all aspects of our existence. In other words, we should see Krishna in everything that happens in our life. This way, we recognize, even though we recognize the external energy of the Lord, but at the same time, we realize that this external energy of the Lord is there to help us to be able to be fully conscious of the Lord. So, whilst we're reading in the purport also, not even in the text, in the text itself, it says, those whose intelligence has become fixed by perfect execution of mystic yoga can see that all these elements result from the actions of your external energy. So who are actually fixed in perfect consciousness, they are realizing that everything that is happening is being caused by the Lord. So if everything is being caused by the Lord, if everything is being caused by the, if the Lord is the background of everything that is happening, then why should we be worried? All we need to do is to be able to train ourselves to be very conscious of the presence of the Lord everywhere. In other words, we should see every situation in our life as an opportunity the Lord has given us to be able to be fully absorbed in thinking of Him. And that is why it's up to us, all of us, that we help each other with whatever opportunities that are in our way. We use it as a means to help each other to make progress in the ability of, in the sense of thinking, to help each other to be able to be conscious of the Lord under all circumstances. This is devotional service. It's not that when one good thing happens to us today, then we see it as the mercy of the Lord. But when any bad thing happens to us, then we see it differently. That one is not coming from the Lord. Because the Lord has arranged this world in such a way that every single step becomes an opportunity for us to come closer to Him. If even we desire to forget about Him, somehow or the other, His external energy, the material energy, Maya, will find a way to remind us of God. But it's up to us to see it, how we are being reminded every day. We don't have to see negativity. If we try to see negativity in everything that comes our way, then we can never see the Lord in anything. And that is how it is said that the neophyte devotee sees Krishna in a particular way. Like you go to the altar, you go to the temple, and you only see the deities, and oh, Krishna is here. But once you turn your face from the altar, from the temple, and you come outside of the temple, then you don't see Krishna anymore. That is very shallow mentality. We should be able to see Krishna everywhere. And this is how Prabhupada has designed his movement, to teach us how to be able to see Krishna everywhere And so Prabhupada says something that if you love me, that if you want to please me, then you have to demonstrate it by what? Cooperating with each other. The proper cooperation with each other, Prabhupada says, that is the sign that you really love me. So he has formed this movement. We are getting people into this movement. And Prabhupada is saying that the proper cooperation with each other, this is the way to love me. That doesn't mean that when you interact with each other, every day, things are going to be like rose petal, like everything is going to be perfect. No, the perfection lies in the interaction. Because sometimes you will be walking along the road and you might forget completely about the Lord, thinking about something else. And somehow or the other, if by the mercy of the Lord, you fall into a ditch, some automatically, it's like instinctively, the first thing that comes to mind, Krishna. Because you have forgotten about the Lord. Now the Lord is giving you an opportunity to call his name. So he pushes you into a ditch. And by falling into the ditch, the first thing that comes to your mind is Krishna. So why don't you see this as an opportunity that the Lord has given me to remind me of him, the Lord? But rather we see it otherwise. And so it's up to us to help ourselves and to help each other so that we can gradually make progress on the path of what? Remembering the Lord. And this is what is called Krishna consciousness. How we can help each other to make progress. And Krishna himself has said that if you discuss or if you preach this message to the devotees in Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, verse 68, Krishna explains that the one who preaches this message to the devotees, he is very, very dear to me. And in verse 69, he says, there would never ever be someone as dear to me as this person who preaches my glories to others. And in the Bible, it is stated that God is saying that wherever two or more people have met in my name, I'm right there in their midst. So preaching the glories of the Lord, discussing about the glories of the Lord, these are the things that constantly keeps us in the remembrance of the Lord. And these are the very things that is going to make us see things as they are. These are the very things that will help us to even see the causes of the external energy of the Lord to be the mercy of the Lord that has presented itself to us for us to make a headway in the path of devotional service. So the text today is telling us that Krishna is the cause of all causes, and that we have to come to that. We have to be intelligent. We have to be wise to come to the level where we realize that even what we call Maya, the external energy of the Lord, is also an energy that is there to help us come close to the Lord. It's not there to take us away from the Lord. It's there to help us see the Lord everywhere. But as long as we close our eyes and we want Maya to manipulate us, then we are taking the hard way. We are taking the hard punches to get to be reminded of God. But if we don't want to take the hard punches, then we take it the soft way. And the soft way is trying to cooperate with each other. It's trying to discuss with each other. It's trying to see Krishna or the presence of the spiritual master in each other. In this way, it will enhance, it will like the punches will not come from the external energy, because everything that is done in a group It's easily done than when we want to do it single-handedly. And that's why there's a saying that if you know what is called the broom, it's not very common here, but I know the broom that we use, especially in Africa, we use to sweep in the local places. The broom, if you take one stick out of the broom, you can easily break it. But when you put all the sticks together, when you put the broom together, it's almost impossible to break it. Almost impossible. It's so difficult. So, coming together and doing things together, then it will be very difficult for the external energy to give us punches. Because if even he throws the punches, because we are taking the punches collectively, we might not even feel the effect of the punches. But if we want to take the punches single-handedly, then definitely it's going to put us down. The punch will be so difficult for us to absorb, and it's going to put us down. And that's why you see all the programs that Srila Prabhupada has arranged for us in ISKCON, in his movement. You wake up in the morning, you go to Mangarati, you do Tosi Puja, Guru Puja, what else? You try to preach, you listen to Srimad Bhagavatam class, the deity greetings, I mean everything, you chant your rounds, all these systematic things constantly, because we are constantly repeating these things, then gradually it helps us to remind us of the Lord, that we are subordinates to the Lord, and our sole duty is to be conscious of the Lord every step that we take. And that's why even during, practical example is during Ketan, someone may be very down that day. So during the Ketan, the person might be standing at one corner, very idly. But somehow or the other, if one devotee is able to approach this person and draw the person into the Ketan, in the beginning, the person might not be like involved too much, but gradually, as he's being pushed, he or she is being pushed around in the Ketan, and he begins to make some moves. By the time you realize, the person has completely forgotten about his or her anxiety and getting into the mood. And that's why we have to help each other. But we don't have to do anything to bring each other down. If we do that, then that is very unfortunate. Because that is going to kill ourselves. That is going to make us suffer and suffer. And it's explained in so many places. Like biblically in Matthew chapter 18, verse 7, it is explained that woe unto the world because of sin. No matter what you do, the sin will come. But woe unto the person who makes himself available for the sin to come through him. If even you had been born, if you are not been born, that would have been good for you. It's like hanging a milestone on your neck and throwing it into the sea. And then Ishopanishad also says the same thing that the Bible says in Matthew chapter 18, verse 6. It's the same thing is explained in Sri Ishopanishad. Asuya namate loka adina tasma vataha tamste pitya biga chante yoki chatma hanu jana. In mantra 3 of the Ishopanishad, it states that the killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. So you don't have to become the killer of the soul. And who is the killer of the soul? Because Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says the soul cannot be killed, the soul cannot be touched. So if the soul cannot be killed, then why is the mantra 3 Ishopanishad is saying the killer of the soul? The killer of the soul is someone who leads a soul astray, someone who directs a soul away from Krishna. You are said to be the killer of the soul. So if even you lead yourself away from Krishna, you are also a killer of the soul, because you are killing your own soul. And that is not good. So we should try to be like what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, 68 and 69. How he says that we should speak his glories to each other. And once we speak his glories to each other, Krishna says, we become very dear to him, very, very dear, that no one on this, in the world will be as dear to him like you. So we do things that Krishna will recognize us. We cannot even strive to see Krishna. Who are we to strive to see Krishna? But we do things that Krishna will recognize us. And Krishna has shown us the process by which he can recognize us. He says, when we preach his glories to each other, then he recognizes us. And he says, we become so important in his life, in his Krishna's life. Krishna says, if you preach my glories, then you become very important to me. So, what are we waiting for? We should learn how to cooperate with each other and do the needful. And that's why we have some rules and regulations to guide us to do this. But unfortunately, sometimes we make the rules and regulations control us to the extent that we miss the point. We never have to miss the essence of anything, because if you miss the essence, then that is also a problem. And to end that, I will tell a story about the missing of essence. There is a biblical quote in Matthew chapter 12 from verse 1, where Jesus was moving around and he went into, it was a Sabbath, it was the day of the Sabbath, and according to the rules of the Sabbath, no one should work on that day. So Jesus was moving with his disciples, and he went into the cornfield, and they started breaking some of the corn to cook and eat. And the Pharisees were criticizing him. Why are you doing this? Why is your disciples taking the ears of corn on Sabbath day to cook and eat? And Jesus said, he gave a lot of instances. He says, when your father David was moving in war and he was hungry with his soldiers, he entered into the temple, and the bread that was left for the priest, they took it and ate it, which was against the rule. Did you accuse your father for doing that? Your father David for doing that? And which one amongst you, that if on the day of Sabbath, if your sheep falls into a pit, you will tell yourself that this is Sabbath, so I'm not going to take the sheep out of the pit, but I'll let the sheep remain there and die because it's Sabbath? Who will do that? And if you will not leave your sheep into a pit on the day, on Sabbath day, how much more the life of a human being? That the person is hungry, and you say the person should go hungry because the day is Sabbath. So we bring it to our own lives, and the same thing is happening. Sometimes we let the rules and regulations of our path become so like binding, to the extent that instead of extending ourselves to each other, we make rules and regulations binded to, separate us, keep a distance between us. We should live above these rules and regulations. We should see the essence of these regulations. And that's why I said I was going to tell you a story. There is a story about this an army camp. Once upon a time, there was this army camp, and they wanted to build a very beautiful structure. So they first made a concrete part, a big concrete floor. But anytime they pour the concrete, some animals will come and walk on it. Then they fix it. And once they fix it, the animals will come again and walk on it. So the commander of that camp delegated 4 soldiers that when they fix the concrete part, they should stand at the 4 corners of the concrete part, so that if any animal is coming around, they will drive the animal away to keep the thing. So 4 soldiers were posted at the 4 corners of the concrete part. And then every day they go. They were supposed to be there for a couple of days for the concrete to be set so that no animal can destroy it. But somehow or the other, the commander was transferred. There was an emergency and that commander was transferred. So when the commander was transferred, the soldiers kept keeping guard on that concrete pad. Then the new commander who came saw that 4 soldiers were always stationed at the 4 corners of the concrete pad. He did not say anything about it, so it became a norm. Even though the concrete had already set, but every day 4 soldiers will be at the 4 corners of the concrete pad. It happened for a long time. Then one day they brought this new commander. And this new commander, he saw these soldiers always posted at the 4 corners of the concrete pad. And he wondered. So he asked a question. Why are these soldiers posted at the 4 corners? And when he asked the question, nobody knew. Why? So they went into the archives and started pulling documents after documents. Finally, they found a written note from that commander who first posted the 4 soldiers at the concrete corners of the concrete pad. And it was stating that, oh, these soldiers have been posted here so that the animals will not be able to destroy the concrete pad. So until it sets. And once it sets, then nobody is needed to be there. So because nobody was asking any questions, for years and years, they had posted these 4 soldiers at the 4 corners of the concrete pad. So it became like a ritual without necessarily knowing the purpose of the people standing at the 4 corners of the concrete pad. So we must always know the purpose of anything that we are following. We must know. And that is why Prabhupada, being so merciful, he gave us that opportunity that anytime somebody says something, we have to ask questions. We don't have to become like Sagasin philosophers. Like Srila Prabhupada said, one time Prabhupada related the story of Sagasin. And I think most of you know the story of Sagasin. So we don't have to be Sagasin philosophers. We don't have to be Sagasin philosophers. Because Prabhupada was relating Sagasin philosophy. He says, one day, somebody went to a shop and the shopkeeper has shoved his head, which is a custom like in some part of India. When you lose somebody very close, somebody very dear to you, you shave your hair and you wear black. So this person has shown his head and he's wearing black. So the customer said, oh, who is that? That you have shown your head and wearing black. And then the storekeeper said, oh, you've not heard. Sagasin is dead. Even though the customer didn't know who Sagasin is, but he didn't ask any question. He went home. He was thinking that Sagasin is a very important person, very prominent. So he didn't want to display his ignorance by pretending not to know, by displaying that he doesn't know who Sagasin is. So he also went home, shaved his head, and wear black. Another person saw him, say, oh, why is your head shown and you are wearing black? He also said, oh, you've not heard? Sagasin is dead. That person also didn't want to display his ignorance. So he was also thinking Sagasin is a very important person. So he also went home, shaved his head, and wear black. So in this way, in that village, a lot of people started shaving their hair and wearing black, until one of the ministers of the king also shaved his head and wear black. And the king asked him, why? What has happened? Who is dead? And the minister said, Sagasin is dead. But because the king was intelligent, the king asked him, who is Sagasin? The minister didn't know who Sagasin was. And the king said, what? Come on, go back and ask who that Sagasin is. You don't know the person and you have shown your hair and wearing black? So the minister went to the person who told him. That person didn't know. He also went to the person who told him. So that way, finally, they went to the shopkeeper. And the shopkeeper, when they asked the shopkeeper, who is Sagasin? The shopkeeper said, Sagasin is my donkey, the donkey that I was using. That donkey died, and he's very dear to me. So everybody was shaving his head because of a dead donkey, without know. And Prabhupada called this the philosophy of Sagasin. So we don't have to be Sagasin philosophers. We have to be real, practical philosophers, where we do things which is practical in our way to help us grow in Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments? So let me read the text again. If anybody has any question, you can ask your question. The objects of material enjoyment, sound, form, taste, touch, and smell, the activities of the senses, the controllers of sensory activities, the demigods, the body, eternal time, and egotism are all creations of your material energy. Those whose intelligence has become fixed by perfect execution of mystic yoga can see that all these elements result from the actions of your external energy. They can also see your transcendental form as super soul in the background of everything. Therefore, I repeatedly offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Okay, I've seen Dacia Prim's hands up. Dacia, please unmute and ask your question.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for giving class this morning. Very entertaining and enlightening. And just on this last point, Sagar Singh, philosopher, because I'm just trying to think like how to properly discriminate, like when we should ask questions or potentially change things. Because I'm just thinking of this quote that it's pretty common, so, but if no one else has heard about it, they can speak up and maybe it's wrong. But Prabhupada's saying that the problem with the Americans is that they're always trying to change things. So I guess how can you reconcile like the Prabhupada kind of criticizing that we were always trying to change things instead of kind of accepting, okay, this is how you do something. How do you reconcile, like, how do you know when to discriminate, when we're just changing something unnecessarily or when we are just being Sagar Singh philosophers?
Yeah, so the way you don't have to be a Sagar, changing things is different from asking questions. I mean, if you are asked to practice something and you don't understand it, why you have to do it, you have every right to ask questions to get full clarification of why you are doing that thing. In that way, you do the thing out of knowledge. You do the thing from your heart. You don't want to be like a robot because you have been asked to do something, even though you don't understand it, but you start doing it. But if you have proper understanding of what you are doing, then it gives you enthusiasm because you know why you are doing that thing. Okay? So that one is completely different from changing stuff. Maybe what I said about rules and regulations and how we don't have to be like robots that we must apply. It's like, let me give you an example. It's like people fast. We fast. But a lot of the devotees, if you ask them, why do we fast? A lot of people don't even know why we fast. But according to mystical science, you see the mouth, the stomach, and the genitals, they are in a perfect straight line. The mouth, the stomach, and the genitals, they are in a perfect straight line. So the more you put food in the mouth and it suppresses on the stomach, it suppresses on your genitals, then the tendency for you to become agitated is high. It goes up. Now, if you fast, you feel light in the mouth, you feel light in the stomach, and automatically you feel light on the genitals. But when it happens like that, then your mind the majority part, the major part of the mind, which usually becomes agitated, becomes vacant. But once the mind becomes vacant, then you have to fill the vacancy with something. You have to fill the empty space with something. Other than that, you will end up filling the empty space with more lusty desires. So in order to avoid that, you fill it with what? With performing some devotional act, especially chanting the glories of the Lord. So you fill the empty space with this spiritual activity, and it makes you stronger. It makes you more solid. But you are fasting, and the fasting is tearing on you so much. You are so hungry. You cannot even think straight. You cannot even say Hare Krishna, and you are maintaining the fasting simply because they say you should fast. Are you getting the point? So in this way, you can break your fast. You can use something that you can use to break the fast a little bit, so that you can get the required what? Strength to perform your spiritual activity. If you do that, then you don't become like what do we call a robot, simply because you say we should fast. And even though the fasting is tearing you down, you cannot even do any spiritual activity. Your regular service that you have to even do, you cannot even perform your regular service because you have become so weak. And simply because you are said to be fasting, then you are fasting. Do the needful. That doesn't mean you are changing anything. You are not changing anything, but you are applying the fast according to your strength and the place and circumstances. So there's difference between changing things, and there's difference between asking questions for clarification to do certain things. Am I making sense?
Yes.
That's yeah. Did I make some sense?
Yes. Yes. I guess sometimes, like, if something is questioned, then what is it? If something is questioned, then people will say like, "Oh, why are you trying to change? This is just how we've done it," you know. But I guess, yeah, we should know. We should be more, like,
Yeah.
everyone should be more educated. All these things.
Yeah, you should know what you are doing. And clarification is very important. Let's go to Ajame. Before I will give a little bit more explanation on this topic, but let's hear first from Ajame. Ajame, Prabhu, you can unmute and
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for
Hare
a
Krishna.
wonderful class. Uh, and you made some very wonderful points, actually, some points that we've been dealing with in our yoga training. So thank you so much for such a wonderful class. And I love your stories. My question is, you were talking earlier about how Krishna is aware of everything that goes on, every
Mm,
blade of grass.
mm,
And my question to you is, we understand that we have had past lives, and as a reaction to some of the things, the karma that we've built up, certain things happen in this life. But
mhm,
when people sometimes will question, why do bad things happen? Why does God allow bad things to happen? How are we to explain that to them in a way that is so that they could understand without appearing um, to be gaslighting or something like that? Say, well, it's how can we deal with that
yeah,
topic matter?
yeah. It's very good that you live in the farm, because the living in the farm will give you a simple explanation to questions like that. You live around this farm, and most of the farms around here, they have what is called the silo, right? The silo, where they put grains. After each farmer, harvest his grains, he puts them in a silo, right, Ajami?
Yeah. Hmm.
So let's say we have two farmers, farmer A and farmer B. So this year, last year, Farmer A was very serious about his farming, very meticulous. So he got very good yield. So his grains were very nice, big, and beautiful. So after he harvested it, he put it in his silo. So Farmer A, the first grains he put in his silo is very healthy grains. But Farmer B was lazy. He didn't take his time to take care of his grains. So his grains were bad, skinny, hollow, and very bad grain. And he also put his harvest in his silo. So you were not there as a customer, so you did not see what they put in their silos. Farmer A silo was full of good grains. Farmer B silo was full of bad grains. Now, this year, you went to them, you wanted to buy grains. But when you went this year, Farmer B was serious. So his grains were very good. But you saw the grains that Farmer B was harvesting this year. Very good grains. And he was pouring into his silo. Now, Farmer A became complacent this year. So he did not take good care of his grains. So this year, things have changed. Farmer A is rather having bad grains. And this time you were there because you were going to purchase. You saw Farmer A's grain, very bad grains, putting it in his silo. So you did not know what is in the silo last year, but you are seeing what is being put in the silo this year. So automatically, which of the farmers do you think you will go to buy grains from? It will definitely be Farmer B because you saw him putting very good grains in his silo, right?
Yes.
But when you open the silo, you don't open it from the top. You open it from the bottom. So when Farmer B opens his silo from the bottom, what type of grains comes out? Bad
The
grains.
bad. Mhm.
And then you are thinking, what is this? God is not just at all. I personally saw Farmer B putting very good grains in his silo. Why is bad grains coming out? Now, somehow or the other, you go to Farmer A. He opens his silo. You personally saw him putting bad grains in his silo. But when he opens the silo, very good grains are coming out. So what will be your conclusion? Oh, God is not fair at all. God is not fair to Farmer B. He worked so hard, put good grains in his silo, but when he opens the silo, only bad grains are coming out. Oh, why is God so unfair? Look at Farmer A. He put such bad grains in his silo, and look at the good grains that is coming out. Now you are judging based on what you saw. But if you had listened to someone who saw the type of grains they put in the previous year, then you will understand. So that is how it works. This lifetime, someone is trying his best in this lifetime, but the person is suffering so much. It's because last lifetime he put very bad grains in his silo. And the bad grains he put in his silo is the one that is making itself manifest now in his life. And so he's a good person in this life, but he's suffering. It's something he has sown, his own doing. Now, another person, Farmer A, this lifetime, he's enjoying so much, but he's such a bad person. He's a rascal politician. He does all the wrong things in life you can see, you can imagine, and still he's enjoying. Everything seems to be very nice. And you are thinking, oh, God is not fair at all. This guy is such a bad person. Why is everything going on very smoothly? You were not there in his previous life, so you don't know what he put in his silo. And that is why we should understand that everything that is coming to us, we are the cause of it. And God or nature is just giving us what we have put in. And so we should thank him that this lifetime he has given us the opportunity to make it better. Am I making sense?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much. I'm satisfied. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I promised to say something about what Dasha said. Kali, you guys tearing me apart. What was I going to say about it? I said I was going to Dacia, what was your question again? Yeah, now I remember. Changing things, like asking questions and changing things. And I was trying to tell you that you don't change. Once you have the essence. Oh, okay. Let me. Taraka Prabhu, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, Hare Chakra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you for a very nice class. I especially appreciate your discussion of understanding the essence of instructions and rules and regulations. That's a very important point. I remember once I was driving Bhakti Tirtha Swami somewhere. He noticed that I had paper on the dashboard of my car. I had printed up a quotation from Srila Prabhupada. I can't recall what the instruction was, but it was something that I thought was valuable for devotees in general, and so I made like a little poster to put up for the benefit of the devotees. So Bhakti Tirtha Swami was curious about this, and he picked it up and he looked at it, and he asked me about it. And I explained that, I sometimes like to collect these instructional quotes from Srila Prabhupada for the benefit of the devotees. And he said something which surprised me at the time. He said, that it was a warning. He said that you have to be careful that sometimes we may use even bona fide instructions as a cudgel to attack devotees. And I thought about that for a long time. I've been thinking about it for years, and seeing how it is possible sometimes to use even bona fide instructions from our acharyas as a weapon or a means to torment devotees, which of course should never happen. But it happens sometimes because when I'm reminded of your discussion of understanding the essence, second verse of Upadeshamrita, the nectar of instruction, Atyahara Priyashascha Prachalponia Magraha Janasan Yaschalolyam Cha Shadbir Bhaktir Vinashyati. This word Niyamagraha is a combination of niyama, which is rules and regulations, and agraha, which is too much attachment, or also too much neglect. And so the verse is saying that practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them, as you say, like a robot, and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or also rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. And Dasya Prema Prabhu was asking about, sometimes we make changes, sometimes independently or whimsically, and sometimes unnecessarily. And how to understand, when it's appropriate to make a change or not. There are several ways. One, and it's very important that by studying our standard books, we get a very good sense of what to do and what not to do and why. In the absence of arriving at a conclusion from the study of the Shastra, the bottom line always is that when some question arises, we have hopefully we have the benefit of a spiritual master who can provide some guidance, and he serves as the ultimate arbiter of what course we should take. So if there is any question as to what to do or what not to do, we approach the spiritual master for his guidance. That is one of his specific functions, and the value of having a spiritual master is that you have that opportunity to inquire. But sometimes the spiritual master is not present, or some of us, unfortunately, our spiritual masters have departed. So and if there is no one else that we can approach, someone that we whose opinion we value, that we can take shelter of, then at least we have the writings of the previous acharyas to fall back on. We can study those writings, and much can be gleaned from the pages of those works. But you spoke about practicing various rules and regulations robotically without understanding the purpose behind them, and sometimes unnecessarily, even to the point of ridiculousness. But it's also really important to understand the problem of the opposite sort of action, to neglect important rules and regulations. And sometimes that happens, that a devotee may sometimes understand that we shouldn't be fanatical, for example, about some particular rule or regulation, but then sometimes that becomes an excuse for neglect of important rules and regulations. And in those cases also, it may the mistake may be based upon ignorance, failing to understand the purpose behind the rules and regulations, and therefore not understanding the importance, and sometimes rejecting unnecessarily a particular rule because it's inconvenient, troublesome in some way or other. Not understanding why it is important, we reject it. Whimsically sometimes, because we reason that well, it's that I don't see how I'm getting any particular benefit from this, and I think that I can do better by neglecting it. So that kind of whimsical approach is dangerous. So therefore, it's really important that we understand conclusively what course of action to take, and so getting guidance from the spiritual master is very, very important. Anyway, those are just some of the the thoughts that came to my mind. Thank you once again, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Raga Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah, that is very important. And like I said, there was this thing I was going to tell, but I think my time is almost up. But quickly, let me say this thing. One time, there was this king who was ruling a village. And in that village, the rule is that whatever the king says is final. And if you disobey it, you must be killed. You must be killed. And this king was abusing his power. So he said one day he ordered that they want to build a new palace, but he wants the palace to be built from top down, not from the foundation up, but he wants to be built from the top down. And he gave a time limit that they should start the job. So everybody was bewildered. We can't disobey the orders of the king. If we do, we are dead. But how are we going to be able to build a house from the top down? So one of them happened to sneak to his grandmother, he was hiding somewhere. And the grandmother said, yeah, that is okay. The king wants you to build the house from the top down. That is okay. So go to the king and tell the king that according to the custom, anytime we have to build something, a structure, the king is the first person who has to lay the first block of the foundation. So you are ready to build. So the king should put the first block on the foundation for them to start. So this guy came back and he told his other colleagues, and they all approached the king and said, great king, we are now ready to start the building. But according to our custom, you have to put the first foundation. And the king didn't know how to put the first thing from the building the thing from top down. So at the end of the day, he abandoned the whole thing. The king said, it's all right. We are no more building anything. So this way, because this person was able to go and ask questions, and he was given some detailed information. Now the king has to resign. And other than that, he would have killed all these people for nothing. So it's very important that we actually always ask questions for clarification about whatever thing that we are doing. In this way, we will be able to do things wholeheartedly and get the full benefit of it. So thank you very much. And then I thank you all for being in this class. My time is already up. We've already gone beyond by 11 more minutes. So thank you very much. Tantram Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Radha
Right.
Damodara Ki Jai. Nitai Gora Premanande.
Haribo.